closer to the spring, you start to see a lot of things go on. So we had 29 students attend the Children's Lit Festival at UCM this last month, so that's huge. I know last year I think we had 20 or 23, and so we grew there, and that was awesome. We have it's also been National Youth Art Month, so we have some students that actually went to the Capitol, and their artwork was there and displayed, organized. So I think they're going to receive some awards later. But Riker Haggard was there, Haley Wiggers, Colin Carter, all were in attendance there, so it was a great experience for them to get to go to the Capitol and be recognized for their art. We also have several students that have art on display here in the Board of Education building for Youth Art Month. I won't go through them all, but there's several. We've got just a lot of kids that are doing some great stuff right now. National History Day competition took place at Northwest Missouri State. We had 40 students that did projects. 25 of them went to the regional competition at Northwest Missouri State. And of that 25, 11 are moving on to the state competition later next month. And so that was pretty awesome. Basically, if you're not familiar with National History Day competition, basically the students research. They have an opportunity to do some research. It's a research competition. 6th to 8th grades compete either in group or individually in 4 categories. They can create a website, they can create a documentary, an exhibit, or have a performance. And they can choose to create it, or they can choose to create a historical paper. It's an annual competition that surrounds a central theme. This year's theme was turning points in history. The students did a great job. I was really impressed. We have one student that did a project over Cameron, another that we had 4 students that actually put together a website over Pearl Harbor. We had a group of young ladies that did a project over the invention of the chocolate chip cookie. I learned a lot of things about chocolate chip cookie. They presented their project to me, and I told them if they were not all in agreement with me that the raisins in a cookie was not right. I would not listen to it. I told them it was not. If there's raisin in it, it is a health bar. And then we had another student that did a project over Adams and the Boston massacre trial. So I'll talk more about them in our next board meeting, but I was just really impressed. They did a great job. I got to see almost all the projects, and we had some really great projects that didn't move on, but just exciting stuff going on in middle school right now. And Miss Vichulis with National History Day, Miss Sleeper with Youth Art, National Youth Art Month. She always does a great job with that. So just exciting stuff and fun stuff. It's great to see our kids thrive and do things that we've not done before, and it's great that we have teachers that can turn into a learning experience. It's not just fun, but it's actual learning. So it's pretty good. Any questions?
Thank you very much, and congrats to all those who participated in that. That looked like a fantastic event. Thank you.
That second lady.
Next up, our high school principal, Mr. Irving.
Good evening. Excited to share with you, as you see my board packet, we've been working on our course offerings for next year. Excited to share with you some of those courses tonight. Music Theory and Technology, Advanced Vocal Music Studies. We're going to be offering a pre-AP Language Arts 2 class, AP Government, Physics, Theater 2, a Leadership class, Housing and Interior Design, and Foundations of Education, which will also be offered as a dual credit class. So really excited about what we're going to be offering our kids and the opportunities that they will have for next year. Want to give a shout out to, and I know she's in the crowd, I'm going to put her on the spot, Mrs. Babolka. Go ahead, stand up. Stand up. Mrs. Babolka received an honorable mention for her printmaking art piece at the NAEA membership. So congratulations. We had 8 students attend the UCM Literature Festival on March 4th, and then also had 13 students that participated in the Gateway Reader celebrations on March 11th. The pizza party up in the library. So congratulations to those students and Mrs. O'Boyle. And then last but not least, Mrs. Babolka wanted me to share some celebrations from our art club. So Jaden Kelly earned second place in the printmaking category at the Albrecht Kemper Museum of Art High School, exhibition, and Bailey Robinson earned honorable mention in the sculpture category, and Cameron was the highest awarded school out of the MEC at the exhibition. So congratulations to Mrs. Babolka and those students. And then the following students were recognized at the 2024 ME Fine Arts Festival up in Maryville. Bailey Robinson, People's Choice Award and honorable mention. Trista Davis, Artistic Excellence. Jaden Kelly, Artistic Excellence. Madison Brummett, Artistic Excellence. Ellie Krenz, Certificate of Merit. Madison Brummett, Certificate of Merit. Abby Clayton, honorable mention. Brennan Stevie, honorable mention. Lily Hauser, honorable mention. And Cameron was in the top 2 of most awarded schools at the MEC Fine Arts Festival, tied for first with Maryville. And then at the Missouri Art Education Association Spring Conference, Kate McKinnon received a medal for second place in the 3D division. And then the art department will close out, Mrs. Babolka said, with a competition season at the 20th Lawson Juried Art Show at the end of April. So a lot going on at the high school. We have testing coming up and just lots of different things, sports, activities, you name it, we're probably doing it right now. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Very much. Next on the agenda would be the high school activities, maintenance, or technology reports. Does anybody have any questions or comments on any of those reports that were presented? Seeing none, next will be our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Utah.
Okay, good evening, happy first day of spring, so that's something to look forward to. As many of my colleagues were sharing, we are in a busy season. I think it's the fourth busy season that we have coming out quarters, so we're feeling a lot of excitement, but also as Mr. Stickle was saying, he's just on pins and needles to see what our students are doing as far as our assessments coming up. One celebration that came about this week from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development was kind of shocking and exciting. We are able to qualify students for the A+ scholarship college program in a different way than taking the ACT. They can take the pre-ACT, so that's not been an option before. ACT, the why this is exciting is because the ACT must be taken, at a site, whereas the pre-ACT is taken at a site as well, but we can cover the cost through Title 4A. So that's really exciting. It's about $20 per student. So if you recall back in the fall, we were able to identify a highest number of A+ students in the last 3 years, about 80 students applying this year. And I believe I'll be sharing something later on with the public that kind of will say how much scholarship money that really does bring to our students. So that was a huge announcement as of March 8th. As everyone was highlighting, we have assessment season. If you go back to my board report, you can see just about every single day is accounted for with all of the assessments that we give with STAR Early Literacy, STAR, NWEA in all subject areas, the state required assessments, our fitness assessment, and our EOCs, and gosh, I don't know if I'm going to miss one, but it'll just have to be jealous. But anyway, so we are very busy. That has been like a puzzle to put together and lots of trainings going on. But I'm very excited that all of the leaders and the teachers are excited to see their impact this year and the dedication our students have and our families have poured into their students. So another exciting for me, because I love curriculum, is we're getting ready to look at next year for our district curriculum and our professional development. So this is kind of an ongoing, but it's a snapshot for you of kind of where our teachers district-wide are looking at having an interest in their professional development needs. So we have behavior and academic interventions, classroom management, and curriculum and high effect size impact strategies for instruction. So we have lots of great offerings that we can really look into with our RPDCs And then possibly also having other avenues this year as well, including collegial time together. So that's going to be something that we'll talk about in the future. In addition, I'm really excited, and I might not wait till Friday, but I'm really excited to share something that I've been putting together by the numbers infographic that shares everything that has to do with our district accreditation and everything that is reported to DESE, by DESE, from us and from them. This is really by the numbers when it comes to the legitimate reporting. So everybody's going to get to see 4 pages of pretty great opportunities for growth for us and some great opportunities to just celebrate too. And thank you, our teachers who are here, because it wouldn't be done without you. So.
Mrs. Utek,
Yes.
when is that information coming out?
I had a goal of sending it out on Friday, but if there aren't any questions, that I kind of given it to Dr. Robinson and some other people to just look at to make sure there aren't any spelling errors.
Sure.
That can come up out as early as tomorrow with my board report.
I had an opportunity to take a quick peek at that, and it's a picture, a 4-page picture of how we assess ourselves and all the data from DESE about our students in our district. And so I appreciate you putting that into a
Thank
picture
you. It was
form.
really actually easy because all of it's done in my board reports, but board reports aren't easy to look at. So infographics are though, and they're kind of fun to celebrate. So thank you.
So all this data is from DESE, right?
Yes.
Is there another source of data, like do we report anywhere else where you could pull that data and have it be actually specific to Cameron?
Other than the national education, like for NAEP, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Utek? Thank you. We've reached the portion of our meeting where residents of the district have requested to address the board about the governance and operation of the district by being placed on the agenda in accordance with our adopted policy BDDH-1, which mirrors the state statute 162.058. This evening, we had 6 individuals who requested to have topics placed on the agenda. One of our guests let us know about 4 o'clock this afternoon that they are not going to be able to attend. So Ms. Allen is not here to speak to us this evening, but the other 5, I believe, are. So the topic that most requested to speak about this evening was books. So we will invite you up to the podium if you would introduce yourself for the record and confirm that you are a resident of the district. And we have cards there that you can put your name and address on so that we can attach that to the official school record. We would appreciate that. Like I said, introduce yourself. Additionally, we respectfully ask that you stay on topic that you discussed with the administration. Since we have notified the public about that topic and to stay in compliance with the Missouri Sunshine Law. I don't know if you noticed, anybody that was able to get online and look at our agenda, we did link the email correspondence relating to those requests for transparency so that the public could see that we do respond back and forth when someone requests to be put on the agenda. We will be keeping the time. Once again, you'll have 5 minutes after you've introduced yourself. When making your remarks, please note that any remarks about specific personnel concerns or specific students should be addressed during closed session, meaning a concern. So I know earlier this evening we mentioned students' names out loud, and that is perfectly fine, but if you would have an issue with the child, that would need to take place in closed session. To the audience, we ask that you remain quiet so that the board and others can hear statements being made. We take this time seriously and we want you to be heard. Please note, it is the practice of this board to listen to our constituents to better understand their concerns. We will not be commenting on your remarks unless we need additional information or to clarify statements. This is our time to listen to you. So we'll begin with you.
Am I on? Here we go. Okay. For those that don't know, if you complete this form at the public record, I would recommend putting your address on it. I am Heath, and I'm here to talk about the books. I am reading here from the minutes from your December 6th special meeting. And at that meeting, you voted unanimously to instruct Mr. Robinson to create an administrative procedure that would be utilized and followed in the determination of what to do with all these books that have been challenged. We recently submitted a sunshine law request trying to get a copy of that administrative procedure and was told no records exist. That means that that administrative procedure wasn't created. So all of these books that have been reviewed over the course of the last 3 months were not done in accordance with district policy. The policy that, as you amended, requires an administrative procedure that doesn't exist. How was the determination made of what to do with these books? We've asked, we can't get an answer. You've got a list of books that are restricted, you have a larger list of books that are unrestricted. And we have no idea what process was used to determine what to do with those books. I'm concerned we have 4 top level administrators that it appeared are not following district policy. Why is this body not requiring those administrators to follow the policy that you voted unanimously on December 6th to require the creation of that administrative procedure? What is going to be done with the books that have been determined what to do with them if you've not followed district policy? Does that process need to start all over again? You tell me, please. Looking at the IIAC policy, there are several bulleted items that are supposed to be used to determine what to do with those books. This is to be used when a book is selected to be added to the library and during the reconsideration process. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these items. Every one of them is subjective. Every one of them is up to those that are on these bodies to determine how they want to apply their own opinion to what to do with these books. As every one of us drove here tonight, we have signs that tell us, define clearly how fast is the maximum speed that we can travel on these roads. That is an objective record of what it is that we have to do. This policy is entirely subjective. Let me give you an example. Information should be accurate. One of the books that was reviewed was the book Lucky. That book has been pulled by the publisher from every place that sold the book because the man that was named in that book was exonerated with DNA evidence as not having conducted that violent rape. That was the rape that Mrs. Hardy read to this board in March of last year. That book is not going to be published again because the contents are not accurate in it. The man was falsely named and spent 16 or 17 years in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. That book was not pulled from the district for not being accurate. I don't know of another example that would be more relevant to something not being accurate. He was falsely accused. Why is that book still in the library? And that is the book where the man inserted his fist into the vagina of the woman and ripped and made her bleed. What is the curriculum objective of that book? What is the literary value in a book that describes something like that? Isn't there a book that can talk about the dangers of rape and being in a dark park in the middle of the night alone without getting into those graphic details? There were 3 people on that committee that chose with these subjective guidelines that that book needs to be in the hands of kids. Explain that to me, please. Please. Why does a 14-year-old child need to be exposed to that type of content? Material should be authoritative. By whose definition? It's subjective. Material should have significance. What is the significance of that particular book? How does that meet the curriculum objective of the Cameron School District?
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert, we do have the official response from the school district that we have put out on our Facebook page, that we've provided to media outlets, and we've sent to all the parents. In that meeting back In December, we gave a directive. Actually, we gave the directive, I believe in August, and we clarified that policy. So the board does, I think as I've explained before, it's the board that establishes policy, and we lead the administrative procedures, and we directed Dr. Robinson last meeting as well, that he takes care of those administrative procedures. But I can provide you with the official response to the concern from the district that we have provided. Thank you.
I have the official response. There is no record of the administrative procedure existing. How can you follow a policy that requires an administrative procedure if the one doesn't exist? I would like a response to that.
Next, I believe we have Mrs. Hint. Please introduce yourself for the record, and please fill out your name and address there on a card, and we can
I
attach
forgot
that
to
the
mention you're a
official
writing
record.
candidate for this. Writing candidate.
Oh, and I need you to, thank you, and verify that you're a resident, please. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
My name is Jennifer Ensign, and I am a parent of a child in the Cameron School District.
Could you please speak up?
Sorry, is that
Could you
better?
please speak up?
Okay, I'm Jennifer Ensign, and I am a resident of the Cameron School District. Okay. In the United States, Black people are more than 3 times as likely to die due to police violence than white. LGBTQ plus young people are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. 1 in 9 girls will be sexually abused before they turn 18. I think we would all agree that those statistics tell a story about what people in this country are experiencing. Now I'd like to share some stories of my own. When I was in high school, we had 1 Black kid in our whole high school. 1. That kid was repeatedly shoved into lockers and locked in until teachers would find him. Everyone knew it happened, but none of us would try to stop it or rout out those who did. I worked with a Black woman in Kansas City who I offered to lend my car so she could grab some lunch. She said no because you have temporary license tags on your car. She was afraid to take my car because she said she would get pulled over instantly on suspicion that it was stolen. I worked at a pharmacy in Kansas City. When one of my coworkers answered a phone call, the woman demanded to speak to the manager because she wasn't going to let some Black bitch handle her medicine. I worked with a young man who was gay. He had grown up in the same Catholic church his whole life, and at 18 was told by his priest that he shouldn't come to church anymore because he was going to hell. He had told me that he had considered suicide multiple times. I knew a man that was beaten nearly to death on the streets of Kansas City because he had nail polish and mascara on. His face was nearly unrecognizable. I once had a boss that hung up the phone after being mad at a customer, and in frustration said that the patient was a take it up the booty ass faggot right in front of my gay coworker. I was sexually assaulted at 10 by the son of a family friend. He told me to keep it a secret because no one would believe me anyway. I couldn't sleep for days, kept crying, kept having to see him because guess what? He's the son of my babysitter. My mom finally dragged the truth out of me and said she believed me, but I still had to go to that babysitter because she didn't want to make any waves. I didn't get therapy or anything like that. In fact, it was never talked about again. In Cameron, Missouri, I've talked to kids that have eaten their lunch in the school bathroom because they are afraid to eat in the cafeteria. In Cameron, Missouri, I have talked to a girl who is about to give birth to her baby because she was raped. I think she can drive now. In Cameron, Missouri, I fed a teenage boy who was sleeping on the library floor because that felt safer than sleeping at home. In Cameron, Missouri, I talked to a kid that cuts themselves. In Cameron, Missouri, I made sure a kid was safe because mom was home and drunk and angry. Do you remember the statistics I told you at the beginning when I first started? Did you have a moment to visualize what those people go through? Did you see yourself and find healing in those statistics? In Cameron, there's just not that many opportunities to meet people who don't talk, look, and believe exactly like we believe. And as much as we would love to protect our children from everything that we don't like, there's a whole world out there. So before these young people go off to work at a job at 16 or younger, or go off to vote at 18, or go to fight for our country at 18, I hope with all of my heart that they have picked up a book that lets them feel a little bit of what it is like to be someone else. To read a book that reflects their own experiences so they can begin to heal. To know that they aren't alone. And what if my parents had to provide permission to read a book like Speak? Would they? Or would they have been afraid to make more waves? What if I had read a book that just glossed over a sexual assault? Would that have reflected what I had experienced? Or would it have been a mockery of what I had? I implore you to discover the books that you are being asked to consider what books you are being asked to restrict access to. What criteria are you truly using? What criteria are you using to decide what books are going to be added to your collection? If those books didn't have uncomfortable situations in them, sometimes in great detail, would they have the same impact, or would it be like me reading statistics to you? Would they sound authentic and relatable? Because there's a reason why those stories are important. There's a reason why those authors chose to write them. There's a reason why it's important for children to have access and to find the choice to have the book that speaks to them. I have a little bit more, but I'll let it go. Statistics that I made, in case you wanted to check my resources, I'll leave them with this wall.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Gentry. If you'll introduce yourself for the record, put your name and your address on the card, and confirm that you're a resident of the district, and you can introduce your topic, please.
My name is Gentry. Let me try again. My name is Gentry, and I do live within the school district. Thank you for taking the opportunity to let me speak to you this evening. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and for the past 11 years, I've worked alongside law enforcement and courts to help connect individuals in the community and jails to necessary mental health and substance use resources, most of which have been exposed to extensive amounts of trauma. To start, I would like to share a story with you. This story is fiction, but is based on experiences from multiple people I have worked with, and will hopefully share the impact books could have on our youth. Julie was an outgoing 16-year-old. One night, while attending a conference with friends in the city, Julia was suddenly grabbed on her way to the bathroom and pulled into a large storage closet by a man she had not realized had been following her. Although she screamed and fought, no one could hear her over the loud music. Like 1 in 9 girls under the age of 18, Julia was beaten and sexually assaulted that night. As often happens in small towns, word got around quickly and people started to talk. What was she doing there in the first place? I wonder what she was wearing. Likely half her clothes, like the girls do these days. Dressed like that, these girls bring these things upon themselves. The victim blaming so many sexual assault survivors experience eventually took its toll. Like 54% of teens who were sexually assaulted, Julia developed depression. She felt isolated. She started pulling away from her friends and family because they simply couldn't understand what she was going through. Through the wear and tear of the mental and emotional deterioration, Julia felt exhausted. She didn't want to live this life, but she didn't know how to escape it.
Like 33% of all sexual assault survivors, Julia began contemplating how and when to kill herself. The following day, Julia was in the school library trying to avoid interacting with anyone. The school librarian noticed her and checked in with Julia. She shared that she was feeling so tired from this ongoing struggle and wondered aloud how anyone could get through something like this. The school librarian suggested Julia look for her answer in a book. It didn't take long before Julia found Lucky, the personal story of author Alice Sebold. Julia saw a reflection of her own story within the words, recounting Alice's story. She herself had experienced the shame, the depression, the victim blaming, and the hopelessness that Alice spoke about. But Alice made it. Alice had survived what felt like the worst moment of her life and lived to share her story, perhaps for a moment such as this, to give hope. Julia returned to the school library and found the librarian. She shared with her how dark and hopeless she had been feeling and her thoughts of suicide. The school librarian called in the school counselor and Julia's parents. Together they started the healing journey that was rooted in the resilience of Alice Sebold and all the survivors who came before her. This is just one example of a multitude of difficult things our students may experience. These books aren't just about telling a story. They're about helping make a connection for people at a time when they feel completely alone and often unheard and unseen. Many of these books recount stories that hopefully all of us would say no one should experience. As awful as some of these experiences are, they are real, they are raw, and they represent experiences that our youth do go through. When we silence these stories, we are silencing our youth. We are reinforcing the guilt and shame they are experiencing by making them feel like their stories are inappropriate or are pornography and have no place in our schools. Others are concerned about the trauma they believe is created when someone who has had a similar experience reads one of these stories. This is why many books have a warning to the reader, to give them advance warning that the book contains sensitive material. But in my clinical opinion, there is a higher likelihood these stories will provide one or more opportunities to connect with our youth who have experienced trauma, validate their experiences, and remind them they aren't alone. I think we all are in the business of doing what we can do to keep our kids safe and well. Why not use every tool we possibly can? We should be lifting up our schools as safe spaces where our students are welcome to bring up the toughest of conversations with confidence that they will be received with the compassion, concern, and support they deserve, not shame. I understand that many of our young people
Thank you. You can provide your notes to Ms. Walker if you would like. Next we have Ms. Smith. If you'll introduce yourself for the record, you'll fill out a card with your name and address and confirm that you are a resident of the district, and then let the audience know your topic, please.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Smith, and I am Cameron School District's PTA president. And I am here tonight to share the position statement of the National PTA. The National PTA believes that students need to access information in order to explore and experience the diversity of ideas in a pluralistic society. PTA recognizes and supports the rights of parents to guide their children in choosing appropriate reading and educational materials. PTA supports teachers in developing classroom libraries to include appropriate reading and educational materials, and PTA also supports the rights of both public libraries and school libraries to provide factual, correct, and historically accurate information and materials that are free of censorship based on bias, partisanship, or doctoral disapproval. The National PTA urges its members and leaders at all levels to monitor and support and advocate laws, regulations, policies, and programs that supports a person's right to use a library without bias, encourages the establishment of the school system's policies to ensure the rights of educators, parents, students, and other community members to assume roles in the evaluation, selection, adoption, or removal procedures for instructional material in the school library materials in public schools, provide schools with materials that are free of bias, and promote a diverse and inclusive curriculum, providing means to explore ideas and concepts, make informed judgments, and expand students' access to a variety of resources. To provide age and developmental appropriate educational materials, which include family structure, gender identity, sexual orientation, sexual health. Present the diverse racial and ethnic heritage of this country and the contributions of all the groups, including historically and currently marginalized. Portray accurately the role and contribution of all the people in textbooks and materials used by our public school, and equitably maintain and fund school libraries and media centers in all public schools.
Thank you very much. Next will be Mr. Landi. Mr. Landi, please introduce yourself for the record, fill out the card with your name and address, confirm that you're a resident, and then inform the audience of your topic, please.
Is this card mandatory or optional? Filling out this card.
We respectfully ask that all of our guests fill that out. I'll leave that up to you if you want to fill
Well,
it
if it's
out.
optional, I'll pass. Let me, I'm Dan Landi. I live in Caldwell County, but I am a resident of this school district. I gotta throw my eyes. Okay. So. We're here tonight to talk about the dirty books, but I would like to start with prayer, please. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Several points, okay? And this is, again, this is how I feel. This is my stance. I know a lot of folks don't agree, but we can agree to disagree. Parents should be counseling their kids or seeing that their kids need counseling. If the kid's traumatized by some bad incident, it's not the school's responsibility. It's certainly not the librarian's job to counsel these kids with books. That's just that. What is the school doing to keep sexually explicit books out of kids' reach? What is the school doing? That's a question. And I know you can't answer, or at least you're not going to answer it, and that's fine. But I can't find any policy to indicate that you have a plan, that you are actually screening these books as they come in. I don't understand that. We're dealing with the books we already have. Policy IAC R1, okay, it lays out a plan for how to deal with these books that we've already got and identify as problems. But what are you doing to stop new ones from coming in? Nothing that I can see. Why aren't you all looking, I say you all, why isn't the school district looking for these books in the library? Those same ones that we're finding. We found close to 200 that we want to challenge because we think they're sexually explicit, that they're not age appropriate, and they don't have academic relevancy. But we can't, we're the parents, right? The school bought the books, the school let them in, the school should be responsible for weeding through all the 33,000 books that you have in your library. Classroom libraries. We haven't even gotten there yet, right? We're still messing with the school libraries. Each teacher has their own library, they can bring in books, we get that, but how is a parent supposed to know what's in the school library, in a classroom library? It's not, there's no oversight, there's no regulations on that, and that's a problem. 90-day moratorium. Okay, when we first brought this book issue up to you all a year ago, approximately, one of the first things you all did was shut us down. You issued a 90-day moratorium. We couldn't talk about the books for 3 months, and then once we talked about them, we had to wait another 3 months to talk about them again. But you all seem to talk about them like every month. Okay, where's the fairness there? I mean, you all can talk about them whenever you want, but we have to wait, in 90-day increments before we can discuss books again. And you all asked for community involvement. Well, we're trying to give you some input about this book business, but you shut us down. That's a problem. And book review committees, okay? You have a policy, BDC and state statute 610-021. That's the Sunshine Law, by the way. And that governs how you all operate, right? Open and closed meetings and such. I contend that the school district is in violation of both policy and state law because you conduct public business in private. And I know Mr. Kircher and I disagree on this, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But anytime, according to Sunshine Law, anytime that you conduct or you discuss policy issues, okay, behind closed doors and not in a public forum like this, that's a violation of Sunshine Law and your own policy. Anytime the school district discusses book reviews, okay, anytime that they review any books, again, that's a violation of state law and your own policy. So, you wonder why there's trust issues. You wonder why we have, problems with the school district. And that's part of the reason why there's no transparency. And here's a copy of the state law, the Sunshine Law, chapter 610-021, okay? And there are 25 examples, or 25 reasons why a school board, or any public board, but this school board, can go into a closed session, okay? There's 25 of them. There's not one that talks about policy. There's not one that talks about book reviews. So, from what I understand by reading this statute, if you're talking about policies, you're talking about books, it's supposed to be in open meetings with public involvement, and it's not happening. So, I don't know. We are asking for your help. We're not getting any help, we again respectfully ask for your help again. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Landi?
Certainly.
So you said you have 200 books that you want to challenge?
Yes.
How many have you read?
No, well, in entirety, none. Yes. Am I supposed to read the whole book before I make a decision on
the book review committee is
right, participation, all right.
Respectfully, we'll ask questions to Mr. Landi. Mr. Landi, can you give me an example of a time that the board has spoken about policy in closed session? Because I am not aware of any.
Well, no, but I can give you plenty of times where you've taken a vote, right, on policy that you must have discussed somewhere else because it wasn't discussed in our presence. I've been to about every board meeting for a year, and so that tells me that you're conducting private business.
Can you give me a specific policy? Because I can tell you I'm a person of integrity, and I've been in all those closed meetings, and I run a pretty tight ship, and that does not happen, and I want to assure the public that we do not discuss things that we're not supposed to in closed session. I'd intentionally have every policy discussion in open session. The policy committee has intentionally not met. That's why I called for the special meeting on August 29th and on December 6th. Both of those, I believe you were present for, and we had those discussions in an open meeting, either in that room or in this room, and we discussed all policies in open. So I am not aware of those, but if you can give me specific examples or give me some kind of evidence that that's taking place, I will look at that evidence.
Okay,
because
well.
I've been given guidance through training on what topics we can and cannot discuss in open and closed session, and we do follow that guidance.
Oh, well, I've got a policy in hand. It's IIACR 1. It was last reviewed and revised December the 6th of 23.
Correct.
It's last December.
Correct, and that was an open meeting.
Okay, well.
And we have minutes, and I believe
Yes.
you were actually even in that meeting and listened to that entire discussion.
We may have, yeah, but again, where's the participation? You know, when do we get to interject? When do we get to ask
So,
questions? When do we
sir,
get?
respectfully, the way board policy is for specially called meetings, we do not have public participation. But in regularly scheduled board meetings, we do have public participation. But as I've repeatedly told you many times, you're welcome to email us your comments and concerns at any point in time. It's a great way for you to communicate with us. But in special board meetings calls, we did that in public so everybody could be aware of what the board was doing. But we don't have public participation like we do in these board meetings because this is a regular board meeting.
Well, yes, ma'am, I understand. That needs to change, but we have emails. I've got several emails that I can pull up and bring next time, that there are questions to the board that I'm still waiting for answers. Some of these are months old.
I respectfully will respond to that as well. I had an individual ask me earlier today if we are responding, and so I just went to look at my sent box. I didn't look at any other thing, and I'll tell the community I do have an auto reply on because I get so many emails. I've been in the board position as president since last April when we reorganized, and I have sent over 830 some emails. So you are correct. I do not respond to every one of your emails. You are correct. But in those threads, at some point, you have probably received a response. You may agree or disagree with that response, and that's okay. But typically, you get a response from the district in some manner. So, thank you, sir. We've now moved on to the next portion.
One last thing, please. Since you opened up with questions.
You're welcome to email me your question later.
Can I bring you a stack of unanswered emails next board meeting?
Why don't you just re-forward those to me?
What good would that do? You didn't answer them the first time.
Well, sir, I think that you'll find I've answered quite a few of them, but thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next portion of our meeting, where patrons, teachers, or students can make comments on items for consideration. And this is a time where if anybody would like to, you will have 3 minutes to address the board about anything that's under items for consideration. This evening we'll be talking about salary schedules, we'll be talking about insurance, and we'll be talking about Ed Council policy service. Please introduce yourself again. And this is for 3 minutes, please. And please let us know which agenda item that you're going to address. Thank you.
All right, I'm Heath, and an overview of the majority of the items, but specifically I'm going to spend more time talking about the Ed Council. I understand that a lot of these items were added to the agenda today. That was less than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and I believe that is a violation of the Sunshine Law. I don't see any justification for a last-minute addition to the agenda, and I think that that's a pretty clear violation of the Sunshine Law. Moving into the contract that you have shown for Ed Council, it shows a start date for July of this year. So my assumption is that you're going to vote tonight to authorize and sign this contract. You are asking us for comments once again before you have told the community what you plan to do. I can't address your plan on what you want to do with this contract because I have no idea what you're going to discuss. This is now the 3rd time that I've brought this to your attention. Here we are doing it yet again. I'm reading this contract and I'm concerned under the district obligations. It's a 5-year contract for $23,000. And when I asked tonight Mrs. Ice if she's read any of the policies that would be used by Ed Council, the answer was no. We're only going to discuss the contract tonight. We don't know what is in those policies. How can you vote on accepting a contract for a company that's going to provide you a service if you don't know what that service is? We're going to have to pay $23,000 in a 5-year commitment to find out what it is we're going to get policy-wise when this is done. Another concern in this contract is it requires you to maintain Ed Council as the legal counsel for the school district the entire duration of this contract. the legal services unrelated to policy. And if you don't maintain them, it automatically takes this contract, destroys it, and they terminate your ability to use any of those policies. Why are they strong-arming the school district to maintain legal counsel services through them if you're only interested in doing the policies? That concerns me. I spent, there was 110 pages in the sample document that was in the document that you provided. I did a lot of reading today comparing them to current policies, and I have so many concerns it would take me 20 minutes just to brief you on what a few of those were. I'm out of time. Board member ethics. Each board member make all board decisions based upon the best interest of the students of the district. There's nothing in there for teachers, parents, or the taxpayers. You are required with that policy that they want to only consider the students. That's wrong. Look at the policy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Please introduce yourself for the record and tell which item you're talking about.
Absolutely. I am Cindy Miller. I am a teacher of 26 years in Cameron. All that has not been an issue with me. Even though things get tough, we fight right through it. I'm actually here representing Parkview. We are going to speak on behalf of the salary schedule in the gist of my conversation with you. Like I said, I'm representing all of Parkview. We would like to thank Dr. Robinson, the Board of Education, and all of you. We see your continued dedication, your passion, your leadership, your time, your energy that you put into our schools, our staff, and our students, and we appreciate that. In the very first meeting that we had with Dr. Robinson, his very first year, if I make him laugh, he stated he had one mission, and that was to be a school that was emulating. And that word stuck with me for how many years has he been here? 12? 13 years. 13 years. Every single bit of me, every single day, thinks of that word. My first thought was, yeah, right. We are a focus school, used to be, Parkview used to be. That's the bottom of the branch, guys. We were here. But with your guidance and belief in us, we have risen to the top, and no one is going to stop us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from citizens, teachers, or students in respect to the items for consideration?
Better get up there.
Please introduce yourself again and notice the item for consideration that you're speaking about. Thank you.
How many do they want? They've got to six, maybe 8.
I've got some I've got some handouts for you when it's concluded. Dan Landi, again, school district resident, and I'm here to talk about the Ed Council policy on tonight's agenda. Okay. Again, I go back to the Sunshine Law. Okay, why is this the first we're hearing about this policy? Again, you want public participation. You claim you want to do right by the citizens of the school district. But where do we come in? Where is our input? You're about to take a vote on a policy that we don't know anything about. And it makes me suspicious. Why are you trying to rush something through like this, kind of under the cover of darkness, that you don't offer us any opportunity to rebut? It's operating in bad faith, if you ask me. The Sunshine Law, again, I go back to this. This has got 25 points, 25 items that are exemptions or reasons why a board can go into closed session. Okay, I'll just go through them real quick. I've got a little time. Okay, number 1, legal actions. Number 2, leasing, purchasing, or sale of real estate. Number 3, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of employees. Now, again, these are reasons why you can go. So if it's not on here, that means you can't go in that closed session. Number 4, state militia or National Guard issue. Number 5, non-judicial mental and physical health proceedings. Number 6, scholastic probation, expulsion, graduation of individuals. Number 7, testing and examination of materials before an examination is given. Number 8, welfare cases of identifiable individuals. Number 10, software codes for electronic data. Number 11, specifications for competitive bidding. Number 12, sealed bids and documents. Number 13, individually identifiable personal records. This is the one that y'all quote all the time. Number 14, records which are protected by disclosure laws. Number 15, meetings and public records relating to scientific and technological innovation. 16, records relating to municipal hotlines, reporting of use. 17, confidential and privileged communication between a public governmental body and its auditors. 18, security measures. 19, security systems. Let's see, turn the page. 20, security systems access codes. 21, operation of a computer system or network. 22, credit card numbers, PINs, and digital certificates. 23, licensed intellectual property. 24, records related to foster homes. 25, customer usage and billing records. Those are the reasons. That's in black and white. That's state law. And you've got a policy that mirrors this. But you're not following it. That's my complaint.
So 15 to 18 months ago, when I was president of the school board, we addressed potentially using Ed Council for our policy service. We spent 3 meetings, Dr. Robinson? 2? Okay. I'm old. I don't remember everything. But we spent at least 2 meetings discussing openly benefits and drawbacks of Ed Council. This is not our first look at this. It may be yours, but it's not our first look. And I don't expect a response. Thank you.
Sir, it shouldn't be our first look.
Thank you,
You brought it up.
Landi.
It shouldn't be our first look at this.
Thank you, Mr. Landi. I do want to let the community know that we did post our agenda on Thursday, and the presentation with the link to the sample policies are posted on Thursday. So.
Okay, so we've had since Thursday to review this and provide input.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Do we have anybody else that would like to speak in response to? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Walker.
Just a clarification, we currently use the Missouri School Boards Association as our policy provider. The school board adopts the policies, but we discuss those policies and we may amend them to be specific to our school district, or we may take the version recommended by MSBA. And so if we were to adopt other policies, there would be discussions around those policies. And so discussion around using Ed Council does not necessarily mean we are for adopting an entire policy manual that we have not read. So just a clarification.
Please introduce yourself for the record and mention the item under items for consideration that you'll be speaking about. Thank you.
My name is Landi. I work at the high school, and I'm actually going to speak on all 3. First of all, as School Board Appreciation Month, I would like to say thank you for your time, your perseverance, and your work. We know you have had to endure so much in the last couple of years, and just know that we see you and we appreciate you. We trust our elected officials to do your work. We trust that you are going to work to our best interest. We trust that you are going to look at all of the policies, the Ed Council, our salary schedule, our insurance, and we trust that you are always going to work towards the best of our school district. I do not feel that we need to rebut every single thing that the school board addresses. I don't think there is a need to speak on every single policy that you hear on, or that you hear, you vote on, or you discuss. I would like to thank you for the salary raises that you are going to be voting on tonight. Whatever you are able to do for the teachers, I know that you always work to do as much as you can to support the teachers and everything that we do. I'd like to thank you for your continued work on always trying to find us the best insurance. I thank you for your belief in our school district and all of the hard work that you put in. I trust that as the school board, you are always going to work in our best interest. So I would like to thank you for everything that you do, for the salary, for the insurance, and I trust that your decision on the Ed Council will be whatever is best for our district. Thank you.
Do you have any other patrons, teachers, or students who would like to speak on the items for consideration? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to the items for consideration. So the first item under items for consideration is the salary schedule. Dr. Robinson.
I have recommended two salary schedules for the Board of Education. The first is the certified salary schedule. We have a couple different salary schedules that fall underneath that. The biggest is obviously the teaching one. We also have administrative. And then in addition, we also have one for counselors, speech pathologists, and then one for nurses as well. We serve them under the certified, just in my days and such. So what I looked at with salary schedules and speaking with some of our staff about that is we're always trying to be competitive with obviously with the schools around our area, but also within Kansas City to make sure that we're attracting the best teachers we can get to maintain the teachers that we have and make them feel appreciated for everything they do for our kids. So the first one we looked at, like I said, certified salary schedules. Our current base is $41,425. We would be taking that to $43,100. That would put us top in our area, and even into the Kansas City area, and it's very, very competitive with that. That's about a 4% increase. And then in addition, we were beginning their steps, so it's a little percentage higher than 4% because they begin their step of experience as well. And so that's what I'd be recommending for the certified salary schedule. On the non-certified, we looked at doing a 4.5% increase to the basis of those. Those are some just as hardworking staff. That's our cooks, our custodians, our maintenance, our paraprofessionals, our secretaries, all of our people that we need to have to make our days go that much better, to make them our kids' lives that much easier. So with that, we looked at a 4.5% on the base, which then again they would begin to step as well, so they would get that percentage raise for having a year of experience. So those are my two recommendations for salary schedules. I think we've done pretty well with being able to get some good raises this year, and I just appreciate everything you guys do, so thank you.
I move to approve the certified and non-certified salary schedule.
I have a motion from Ms. Peck and a second from Mr. Grenier. At this time, I'm going to ask any board member before the discussion that if they have any nepotism issues or any input in this, to recuse yourself from the room so that we can have the discussion. So there's how would you explain it? 4 degrees of sanguinity or affinity. Okay, Dr. Kircher, this is going to be hard to do without you up here. 4 degrees of separation, you might say, so that we don't show favoritism on the board. So if you might have a family member that would work for the district, you're asked to step out before we make any decision that would affect that family member or a spouse or something like that. So it's 4 degrees, so that's why we, at this time, since we're discussing salaries for certified and non-certified staff, that we've asked the board to do that. So is there any discussion?
I do have a question.
Yes.
On the administrative salary schedule, there's an additional column H that I don't think was there last year.
It's for activities right now.
So
we put them on administrative salary schedule for the teaching contract plus a stipend. We're asking that person to do more contract-wise.
They're voting on a pair, so they have to do this.
So is this comparable to what other ADs in the region would make?
comparable sites and everything.
100%.
Mr. Robinson, I'm having difficulty hearing you.
The question was asked about, we had an additional column on the administrative pay schedule, and that was because we have moved our athletic administrator to that schedule. We're asking him to do more hours and additional things, and she also asked if that was comparable to other districts, and we said yes.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor for both certified and non-certified salary schedules. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. And then we'll have one abstention, so it'll be 6-4 with one abstention. If someone would let Ms. Early know that we're done with. Yes. The next item on the agenda is insurance, and I think Ms. Clark's going to step out for that one. Thank you. Dr. Robinson, I'll let you talk about our insurance plan.
Yes, each year we look at our health insurance to see if we can find a comparable rate that we can do for our staff that hopefully doesn't take too much money out of pocket, and that we can also favorable to our staff. Like I said, this is something probably not one of the things I enjoy the most, I'll be honest, but it's something that I do take seriously in trying to find the best rate for our staff. And so we usually kind of we have a vendor that we use. Our current vendor is MEUHP. Their product is a Cigna product. That's what we've been using for the last year. In years past, we've used anything from United to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We did look at another vendor just to see if we could get a little bit better price. We didn't get any bids back on those. So what I'm asking the board to do is to go ahead and approve the bid sheet from MEUHP. There's a little bit of changes in plan on that. Not a lot. I think there's one loss of a plan and then one addition of a plan on there. Unfortunately, the cost of insurance has went up. With HSAs, it was about an 8.5% increase. With the PPO plans, it was about a 9.5% increase. We did increase a nominal amount for what we're going to pay per staff on that, and so staff will probably have to pay a little bit more out of pocket for the insurance, but this is our I hate to say our only option, but we did look at other options, and so I guess if there's a silver lining is that we'll get to continue with the same company 2 years in a row, which people usually have to change doctors and do different things for that. But and there will be some changes to the plan. I know prescription-wise and some other things that they are looking at as an organization as well. So I will be asking to go ahead and continue our relationship with MEUHP, who offers the Cigna product for another year.
I move we accept the plan with MEUHP.
We have a motion from Dr. Kircher to accept the plan as presented.
Second.
Second by Ms. Lockridge. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion passes 6 with 1 abstention. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Ed Council Policy Service. Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, we have a representative from Ed Council here, Dwayne Martin. If you guys want to pull up the PowerPoint on your computer, he'll be talking about the presentation, I assume. Dwayne, is that correct? Yes. Okay. Am I on?
How's that? Yes, I intend to kind of walk through the presentation, but by way of introduction, my name is Dwayne Martin. I haven't had the pleasure of appearing before this board for quite some time, so I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you tonight about Ed Council's guide service. It's kind of exciting to go to a board meeting and have people that are engaged and interested in policies. It's not always the case, so I appreciate it. I think it's a healthy thing, and it's a good thing for governance. What I would say is this. We started the Ed Council Guide Service because we had clients coming to us over the years that asked us for something different. And the reason they were asking for something different is they had a lot of complaints about the model policy services that were available to Missouri public school districts. And there are a number of different complaints, but among them were the idea that policies were not readily accessible and understood. The language that was there was not something that people could grasp readily. They weren't written for key stakeholder groups, meaning that you didn't have, like you would in the corporate world, an employee manual that's reflective of the rules and regulations. You had a policy book over here, and then maybe an employee manual over there. Student parent handbook would be a similar problem. Also, and this was a major complaint that we heard over and over again, is that the policies really weren't tailored for the individual district. It ended up being quite a cumbersome exercise to have them revised and reviewed by legal and have the policies the way a particular district wanted them. And then finally, this one came up over and over again. In fact, we ended up dealing with it in litigation, was the lack of alignment between student parent handbooks and policy and employee manuals and policy. And many of you recognize this, but I'll say it. In most public school districts in Missouri, you end up trying to get the handbooks together at the end of the school year. The administrators are trying to do it, and they're throwing together as much as they can and doing as good a job as they can. But it's easy to get this drift over time between the policy language and what's in your student parent handbooks. And so that's one of the other problems that we were asked to try to address with a new service. So what we did is we could develop something that is completely different, and the structure of it is different. And so it takes a little bit of orientation to understand why we've done what we've done and how it's put together. What I would say is this: we have tried to put together a single source document for key stakeholder groups. So if you have something that is a rule or regulation that's applicable to employees, that should be in the employee manual. If you have a rule or regulation that's applicable to a student or a parent, that should be in the student parent handbook. Nobody should have to be consulting the policies. It should be captured in that document if that's what they're trying to find out about. So what we've done is we've set it up so that you have district policies that are broad-based policy statements. I will tell you, unless the law requires otherwise, or it's a step that we really feel like we need to take to mitigate legal risk, it is something that is just a broad, sweeping policy statement, and it doesn't get inside procedure. As you are aware, in a number of your policies right now, you may have a policy that's 10 pages long. That to us is not really a policy statement. That is getting inside the procedure and going much, much further. So what we would like to do is what we've done with our system is set it up so that you have district policies, you have a board manual, which is as a stakeholder group, you have an operational manual about how you would operate. And for each one of these manuals, you have cross-referencing to the policies, so they're incorporated in that manual itself as well if it's applicable to that particular stakeholder group. Board manual, employee manual, in addition to the district policies, student parent handbook, and then you have an administrative manual that prescribes all of the procedures to implement the board's other rules that you've adopted. Now, on the policies, like I said, it's just general guidance documents, very, very broad sweeping statements of general policy. There are some things that are a little bit more detailed because, as you guys realize, our General Assembly has promulgated certain things that they say that you need to have in policy. And sometimes that's procedure, but it's something like bullying, for example. There are certain things that we're required to have in policy. So we've made sure that you've met all the legal requirements with respect to that. It is approved by the board. The district policies are approved by the board, and they're posted on the website just as they are for you guys right now. What I would say on the board manual, that's really the board's document for board members on how you want to operate. We incorporate norms, we incorporate anything else that you want to have built into that. But anybody that's a new board member that comes in as a new board member, we try to develop a single source document that they can go to get their hands readily on the rules and regulations that they should know about how to operate as a board. Employee manual, same thing. It provides the employees with the information about the rules and regulations, but it also goes deeper than that. We incorporate everything that they need to know about benefits and that sort of thing so that they have a single source document. We've had a number of districts where the back to school staff training is basically just going through the highlights of the employee manual, because now they know where to go to find the reference to the questions, and it's a good system in that sense. Student parent handbooks, similar. It's a key tool for communication to your students and your parents, and that's one that's developed specifically for them. It includes all the annual notices that we're required to provide to our student and parents every year. It also includes a lot of information, everything from drop-off, pickup kinds of rules, contacts information, that sort of thing. And that's up to you. You can decide to have a different one for each building, or you can have one that's more of a district-wide type of student parent handbook, and that's something that we do to tailor it to you. And then the administrative manual, and that includes a lot of the procedures and how to execute the board's policies and administration. I will say that as a part of the service, there is a site hosting, so you have a page. I don't know if you guys have accessed other school districts that have the EGS guide service, but it's simple. Just click on it, something on your website, takes you to a website, and it's set up specifically with your district policies, student parent handbooks, employee manuals. You decide which documents are going to be housed there and accessible by just clicking on the link. Customization. That is one of the big areas that we wanted to address, and the reason why we started the service. We have found that it's very difficult to write policies for 518 public school districts across the state. Just because you have a particular policy that might make a lot of sense for North Kansas City doesn't mean it makes a lot of sense for Cameron. And so we try to make sure that it is something that is well suited to the board. You look at it, you decide. If you as you go through, determine that, hey, we want to change our policy, that's something we will go ahead and as a part of the service, we alter it. We look at it from a legal point of view to make sure that we're managing legal risk and complying with the law, but make sure that it is tailored for Cameron and that this community. And that's a big part of the service. That was a part of why we wanted to start this service, and a big part of it, because we talk a lot about local control in Missouri, and then we seed it by providing a policy service that's a model policy service for everybody. And so that's something that was of great concern to us. We do have our attorneys involved in the installation and training of the system. We will be working closely with you. As was alluded to earlier, this is not the decision about any individual policy. This is a decision about the service itself. And then you will have to consider the adoption of all of the policies. You'll have to, and under our system, the employee manual is adopted by the board. The student parent handbook is adopted by the board. That is a different system. And that is the reason why we do that is we want to make sure that those rules have the imprimatur of the board's approval. It's put out in the public for board adoption, when you go through the board adoption process. And so it's a much more robust, comprehensive process, we think, by doing it that way. Legal interpretation of your documents. Anything that comes up in terms of the interpretation of the issue is included in the service. That is a part of it. So as we go through this, Dr. Robinson runs into a problem. He's like, what's this language mean? In any of these documents, then he can consult with us, and there's no charge for those legal services because it's a part of the service that's being provided. What I would say, just in response to a couple of issues that have been raised tonight, this is a different system, and it's one where we only want to provide this to our clients. This is not something that we would provide to anybody else. We've had districts approach us that are not our legal clients and ask for this service, and we've said no. The reason why we do that is that we look at this as just an additional service to be provided to our legal clients. That's a part of our partnership with our school district clients. And that's why we structure it the way we do. We end up with more districts wanting to sign up each year than what we can take on. So we turn people away every year on this. And the reason why is because it is a part of the service that we provide. We take that very seriously. And that's part of the reason why we have a long-term commitment. It's an investment on your part, it's an investment on our part, but it's a part of the overall relationship. And that's very critical to us. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have, Dr. Robinson, you may have. Anything at this point that I can answer for you.
Just clarification. Thank you for your presentation tonight. I just want to make sure that that I understand. So tonight we would be voting to adopt your service, which would provide a template for policies that we would consider adopting.
Yes.
We're not voting to adopt policy tonight. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. You're not voting to adopt any particular policy. What I would say is that we do have master policies, but we alter those for each school district. And so, just so to give you a little bit of the process, we take our master documents, we look at what you have on the books currently, because you've made a number of policy choices. And we incorporate those into our policies and our manuals, so that you have you're not starting from scratch, you're at least building off of what you've already adopted. But then everything is going before the board for approval, with the exception of the administrative manual, which is the administrative procedures that we were talking about that Dr. Robinson was.
What would be the turnaround time for that type of work?
We put everything in place by July 1. So it's a condensed schedule. It is. Which is why we, in part, honestly, have cut people off and said, we're going to have to carry it over to the next year. Because with the way we do this, other policy services, you can come in October, you can come in December. We only bring districts online July 1. And we do that because we're doing the student parent handbooks, we're doing the employee manuals, and we want everything in place as we roll into that school.
So the July 1.
On the books, those policy decisions into that and get those out to the district for review as quickly as we can. So adoption, I would want to put it in front of the board in May initially, and then have June come back to it. And if you look at that, that's a pretty tough schedule, so you may have to have some additional meetings in there to do it.
Okay. How many staff members do you have, lawyers that would be working on all the districts that you represent?
Well, and the way we do it is we take the attorneys that work with the district primarily in the general counsel role. So because I work with Cameron and Emily works with Cameron, we would both be working on it. That's separate and aside from that, we have another attorney that does nothing but EGS. And so if we were hired and had the privilege to work with Cameron on this, you would be our 10th client for this year, and that's probably about where we would cap it.
So we have 2 dedicated that would be ours, essentially.
3 of us working on it. One that would be working exclusively on EGS stuff.
Okay. Can you describe for me the rationale behind the handbook? I understand the handbooks reflect the policy, but we have been, I guess, educated before that the handbooks are not the purview of the board. So how do you, I don't know, how do you, yeah.
I fundamentally disagree with that philosophy, okay? And I'll tell you why MSBA has that philosophy. And even hard-coded in your current policy, it says handbooks will be provided as information for the board, but not for adoption. And the reason why they've done that is that over the years, that drift I was talking about, they don't want somebody playing gotcha and saying, oh, well, the student parent handbook says this, your policy says that. Well, you're bound by what's in the policy because that's what the board approved. The problem that we have is, let's just take the student parent handbook as an example. We're required every year to provide the disciplinary code to parents and students. That's statutory, that's what we have to do. If we're doing that through the student parent handbook, and that doesn't match up exactly with what's in the policy, now we've got a problem if we go to enforce that code of conduct. And that's where I had a disagreement with MSBA about it, because, and they're great at what they do, but they're not litigators. They haven't had to fight through these problems. So some of those practical pieces they don't have a full appreciation of. Like I said, they're great at what they do, but they have a little bit different perspective.
So as the state legislature changes laws and policies need to change, that flows down into your handbooks every year?
Everything.
Okay.
That's right.
So as the primary legal counsel, if we were to do this, do you have, I mean, there are so many areas of the law where you need to specialize to really be good at it. I know education law would definitely be one of them. I know you probably have an employment lawyer, but things like IP or data breaches, bond issues, those kind of things, do you do that in-house? Is that covered by this contract? Is that something we would carve out? Do you have that expertise in-house? How's that handled?
Well, I'm going to object to that one as being a compound question. What I would say is this, and the example you gave is dead on, because let's just take cyber. What you'll find is that if you have a data breach, for example, we work those all the time. But if it takes over to insurance, even if it's music insurance, there's a national firm out of Pennsylvania that handles a lot of these for most of the insurers. And Mullen Kaufman is the name of the law firm. But they would come in and do that, and we even paid for it in part by the insurer and that sort of thing. Those kinds of special projects are not what we're taught. That's why we say not exclusive, we say primary legal counsel. Because there are some things. And I'll be honest, just be frank with you, there are some things that if you didn't feel comfortable that it was in our wheelhouse, then we would want you to go somewhere.
So if you had to describe your primary legal expertise, your areas of law, what would be your primaries that you say, this is our thing?
Public school districts in the state of Missouri. We have 12 lawyers that do nothing but that all day, every day.
So employment, finance.
Everything that affects a Missouri public school district. We currently represent around 240 of Missouri's 518 public school districts. We don't do anything else. And so that is our expertise. And that may involve employment here, student issues here, SPED, whatever it may be. But it's those things that touch Missouri public school districts. Now, you will run into things that that may be just kind of a one-off that a school district faces. And in that instance, if we don't have that experience or that base, then we would want you to go somewhere else. And we would even help you, line that up.
Okay. And then just to clarify the pricing under the contract, the first year is $13,000 and the remainder of the years is $2,500 each year. So at the end of a 5-year term, would we expect the $2,500 to carry into renewal years, or would you re-up with the first year being the larger number?
No, great question. Because we've done the install, that's covered as a part of that $13,000. So the districts and we just hitting that first group, that is the first year, first ones that came on board. And what we did is we simply roll in that maintenance fee. There is no installation fee. There is no high number. It's just that same number.
So the first year is the transition and the extra heavy workload, and then after that it's maintenance.
Once we've done that, once we've done that initial investment and install, then it's just maintenance from there on out.
Thank you very much.
Can members of the public ask this gentleman some questions about this program?
No, sir.
You said no?
No, sir. Any other board members who have questions or comments? Dr. Robinson, do you have any other comments or questions.
Robinson, how much do we spend on, or what is the cost of getting our policies through MSBA currently? Do you know that?
I do, and it's roughly around $5,000 to $7,000 a year that we spend with Missouri School Boards Association to do their policy service and maintain and have the link off their website and all of that. So yeah.
And that's every year, that's not.
That's every year we pay that.
Are there any other policy services outside of Ed Council and MSBA that we know of?
I believe so, and actually, where's Dwayne? Yeah, I don't even know, is Mickus O'Toole still running a service?
It's actually a separate provider. It's called Missouri Consultants for Education.
Okay. I only know those three. Is there any more, Dwayne? Just yours?
Those are the only ones I'm aware of, Dr. Robbins.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? I appreciate the information. After being in this role as presidency and under Dan's leadership as well, Dr. Kircher's leadership as well, we've talked about this for a couple of years and we've analyzed it and thought about it, and then once I got into this position and different things came up, I realized we do need to make sure that we're aligned in all of our areas, and I felt like this was an important topic to bring back up and discuss. So, any other conversations surrounding this? Yes, I would take action tonight if the board so chooses.
Well, I would move that we accept the contract proposal from Ed Council for policy services.
Dr. Kircher moved to accept the contract and enter into agreement with them for Ed Council for policy services. Do I have a second? Ms. Early seconded it? Seconded. That's right. Any other discussion? I know this is a big change for our district. I want to make sure everybody, and we have studied this over the last couple of years, so if any other. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We've reached the point of the meeting for board member comments. I think this evening I'm going to start at, let's start at this end with Mr. Grenier. Do you have any comments?
So I just wanted to say thank you to school district employees, students, parents especially. This will be my last board meeting. In April, at that board meeting, I'll be in Columbia judging state FFA parliamentary procedures. So this is my last meeting, and I mean it sincerely. I appreciate the support that we've gotten in the last 6 years that I've been on the board. And I recall in 2018, when I was a candidate for the board, that I said that I would support any effort for new school facilities, including a performing arts center and improvement to the vocational agriculture building. Now, I'm an old ag teacher, emphasis on old, but yeah, I see. But yeah, so I appreciate the value of vocational technical education, and knowing that if we got a new ag building, we'd also get family and consumer science. And so I supported those issues before I got on the board, and then when we got on the board, I recall one meeting that Pam Ice and Clark came into the meeting and representing band boosters and music boosters and any other kind of booster that we had, booster club, but no, I'm sorry, just band boosters, I think, and music boosters. But and they were really well prepared, and that's what I want to say is that, folks, if you're presenting something to the board, be well prepared. Those of you that spoke tonight, you were well prepared, and we appreciate that, and thank you for that. But their words, their presentation to the board that night went a long way in determining what we would do. And Jackie Peck and I were new on the board, and about a year later, we began some serious discussions. And the most important thing to take away from that is that at our meeting, when we decided to go for a no tax increase bond issue, that we wanted a new performing arts center and a new ag building and those other projects, that vote was not unanimous. But after the vote was taken, the board was unanimous in its support for that activity. And I, since that time, and every board that I've been with since, we don't always agree on things, but when it's done, we're unanimous. And I can tell you right now, 100% for sure, we have never had, in my 6 years on this board, an illegal meeting where anything was discussed about policy or anything else that was not according to the Sunshine Law. Okay, that's a fact. I was board president for 3 years, board vice president for 1 year, and then my first year and then this year, a member. And we don't do that stuff. And don't be swayed by anybody that would tell you that we do, because we don't. We're here for the kids, we're here for you, and we support the Cameron community just like you do. And so I appreciate it, and I want to make one final comment. I apologize to our Parkview staff. If you see your wonderful poster down here with footprints on it, Mr. Landi inadvertently stepped on it. And so I apologize for him and defacing that wonderful poster, but we still appreciate it.
I'll apologize for myself. Thank you anyway, but it was an accident. Honestly, it was. Apologies to the teacher who made that mural.
Thank you, Dr. Coker. We'll move down to Ms. Peck. Do you have any comments?
First of all, if I could ask, how many of you are teachers that are here tonight? Okay. That's quite a few. I just wanted to recognize you that you've worked all day and you're tired and you've taken time out of your evening where you could be spending this time with your family and you're here. And so that just goes to show how much support that you give to this district. And I know the board appreciates you all being here tonight. I can't see you, Dan Kircher, but I just wanted to tell you that it has been a pleasure to work with you on the board these last 6 years. I admired your professionalism, your expertise at parliamentary procedure is second to none, and I admire your courage in the face of a lot of negativity. You're going to leave big shoes to fill, and we certainly appreciate everything that you've done to move this district along. I also wanted to say that it's possible that this might be my last board meeting as well, and so I wanted to say to the rest of the board, it's been wonderful to work with you. One of the things I like about working with this particular board is that we don't always agree, but one of the things that we have done is that we have always been respectful and civil, and shown civility in our meetings. And so things can get heated, but we have all worked through challenges and have come out on the right side of things. I also want to say that April 2nd is election day, and I encourage all of you who are registered to vote to go out and vote. And I would also encourage you to ask yourselves, what do you want to see on your school board? Do you want to see people who have a long track record of supporting your students, their teachers, and staff? Or do you want people on your board who are negative and want nothing good for this school district? It's your vote. You choose. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Dan. Again, you welcomed Andy and I on 2 years ago as new board members, and you're a great president, and we just appreciate everything, and we'll miss you. I want to say the school board was gifted these beautiful t-shirts, and to the person that gifted us these t-shirts, thank you. I love them. And so I just wanted to say thank you to those, or to the person, the anonymous person that that donated them, and to Brandy at his and hers for making them. I love them, of course. And that's it. I appreciate you all, and proud to be part of this board.
So, thank you, Dr. Kircher. I know you're going to hear it from all of us, but first 2 years, we've learned so much from you, and we will very much miss you. Secondly, the Sunshine Law, I would reiterate what Dr. Kircher said. We follow the law, we strive to follow the law. We have never had a meeting outside of your view. There will be no proof of that, so don't believe that. I would also like to say, if you desire an opportunity to rebut as opposed to an opportunity to voice an opinion, that will not be a collaborative effort to come to the best place for our children. So if you come in with the idea that you're going to rebut stuff beforehand, you're just assuming the other side's wrong, and that is a mindset maybe we should work together instead of working against each other. Third, just like to point out to each of you that if you go through the board packet, and I have lots of tabbed pages, which I'm not going to read them to you, I have a lot of tabbed pages, there's specific information in here about what each building is doing with regard to individualizing instruction towards children so that their test scores improve. And I appreciate the teachers take the time to look at the data, go through and create a plan, and treat each kid where they are. Because not every kid's in the same place. And not every kid has a home life that's the same as their friend that they're sitting next to. And not every kid has parents that are as involved as others. And so what you do on a daily basis is so very important, and thank you so much for doing that. And to say otherwise is just, it's not supportive. This is so very important, and thank you for all your hard work. And then also, just thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate seeing all of you in the audience. I know you're tired and you want us to shut up, so I'm going to.
I was watching, MSBA has a series of educational online presentations, webinars, thank you. See, we are going to miss you so much. And I was watching last Friday the Lunch and Learn, and on that was retiring Missouri Education Commissioner Margie Van Dieven, and just reviewing her career and how much has been accomplished in education. And she said something that I wrote down because it struck me so, it just struck me that as boards of education and as people who support education, our job is to lift up our students by lifting up those who serve them. And I know that Dr. Robinson has always come to us as a board with support, not just in terms of salaries, and we do everything we can with benefits, but we talk about professional development and how, but it's, Dr. Kircher, it's been an honor to serve with you. Thank you for all you've done. Dr. Robinson, do you have any? Thank you. I just want to say, I think a lot has been said, it's late, and you guys have a busy day tomorrow, but thanks for the support and that you came out. I also want to reiterate it is School Board Appreciation Month, and thanks to whoever anonymously donated all the t-shirts for the board, sweatshirts for the board, that was very kind. I do have copies of the formal board response to the book concern. If anybody would like a copy of that, I can provide that for you. These meetings sometimes can be difficult, but I think we weathered this one well. And I just appreciate the board, and I appreciate Dan's leadership. He has mentored me so much in the last year. He is the parliamentarian of all parliamentarians. He teaches that at a national level. I think he missed the MSBA conference because he was teaching that at the national level and coaching that at the national level. So I told him I was not going to delete his phone number. So if you ever see me in a meeting, say just a moment, I have to consult with a parliamentarian. But we were joking earlier, but it's been a pleasure. You're an ultimate service person and volunteered for our community, and we greatly appreciate that. I just encourage you guys to all to go out and have a great week. I do want to tell you, I do get a lot of emails. And you may not receive always a response, or you may just say, I have read and reviewed your email. That might be my response because I'm one board member. And when we are trained that we only take action when it's all of us up here. And we move by taking a vote. And that's the response that we give to the community. So it's not silence. It's that we take in, we read all those emails, and I do read every one of those emails. I have files and files of emails, and I can't imagine what the district has, but I counted today, I have 770 some different email threads, and some of those threads, there might be 56 emails. So I do read all of those. And at some point I may not respond. Sometimes the board asks me to respond and I will respond, and sometimes I've been given advice to respond, but we do read those emails, and we appreciate the involvement and the passion of this community for our children. I was talking to somebody today that's out of our community. We compete with them sometimes in wrestling and things like that, and they were talking extremely highly of Cameron and how they wish they had our school district in their school district, in their community. So we work hard, you work hard, very hard for that reputation, and I appreciate our community support for our kiddos and our teachers and our administrative staff and everybody involved. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Do I get to make a campaign speech like this, Peggy?
Yes, sir. My name is Austin.
May I do that?
Nice to meet you. Let me turn off my camera.